Hi, I'm Alexa.
And I'm Cadence.
And we're
Something Sinister Podcast. I've been practicing my demon voice.
Yeah, that's who we are.
And people have
It's
unsubscribed.
It's like, what was that movie? The film
Ring.
called The Ring. Yeah.
I never watched it.
Really?
I just know because obviously that's like a huge pop culture thing.
Yeah, it really was. Especially when we were teeny boppers.
How old were we when that came out?
I think like middle school. Yeah, I think.
We were discussing tonight at dinner the scariest movies that we've seen, and Alexa was like, "You've seen the first Amityville Horror, right?" And I was like, "Absolutely fucking not. Have you not learned anything about me in the year that we've done this podcast together?"
I mean,
there's
it's just
like
a classic.
There's like 5 demonic movies. In fact, I could probably name them all right now.
We are talking about scary movies. They all don't have to be demonic.
Well, demonic movies are scary in my opinion.
Okay,
Like Texas Chainsaw
true.
Massacre is not scary to me. Saw, not scary. Shining, borderline. But okay,
Yeah,
so
Shining's
here's my
creepy.
list. Here's
Okay.
my official list
5.
so that there's no questioning.
And you've seen them from start to finish.
Yes, Insidious is the
Without
scariest.
closing your eyes.
No, I definitely had to close my eyes without crying like a little bitch in the corner. No, I definitely did all those things. Okay. Insidious is the scariest movie I've ever seen.
That's a scary one.
It is fucking terrifying.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Amityville Horror with Ryan Reynolds. That was really scary. I don't know if that's second. I just know Insidious is number
You're
1.
just naming 5.
Paranormal Activity.
Okay.
I saw
The original, like the first one.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's
I
the
didn't
only
make
one
it
you
past the
watched.
second. After the first, I was like, I am donezo.
You know, funny story about that, and then I'll let you finish. But I watched that movie Home Alone by myself
Stupid idiots.
whenever I was in high school, and I was literally like terrified whenever I watched it because I'm like, oh, it's no big deal. It's not gonna scare me. And then I'm home alone by myself, like watching this like a freaking idiot.
Yeah, seriously, that's dumb.
Yeah, I know. Okay, what else?
Darkness
Insidious?
Falls was the first scary movie
you
I
told
ever
me
saw.
that.
And
That's
it
not even
definitely
scary.
No, it's scary. It was actually pretty scary too, the new one.
I haven't seen the new one.
You didn't see the newest It, and you literally went for that as Halloween.
You said it. I thought we were still talking about Darkness Falls.
No.
I'm like, I didn't know that there was a new Darkness Falls.
The new one. No.
Oh,
It.
the new It or the old
The
It?
new It. I can't watch the old one. It looks.
The old one's creepy.
Yeah, it looks
I mean, it's
scary.
like it's very corny because it's older. Like,
Yeah.
it was made in the 90s, late 80s or early. I think it was the 90s, but yeah, it's creepy.
I think those are
I
the
think
only.
the
I think
new
that's
one.
it.
I don't even think the new one was scary.
Oh, yeah, it was terrifying. And for anybody that's watching the series on Netflix, The Watcher,
She's terrifying.
It in the description says psychological thriller, so I'm like, I'm fine. I'm good. It's fine. I'm gonna make it. And then you have that fucking guy in the black outfit like popping out in and out of the house. And I'm like, I swear to God, if this starts dabbling in some demonic shit, and sorry, spoiler. So if you haven't watched all of it, don't. But then they start talking about adrenochrome and satanic worship. And I'm like, oh, fucking demons. Great.
Yeah.
Glad I'm invested. Now I
know.
have to watch.
Yeah,
and
you do.
it's scaring the fuck out of me.
You've got to finish it.
I know.
You've got to finish it.
I know.
So
I know. Anyways, I think that's all the demon movies I've seen. And that's enough. There was like a Haunting of Connecticut or something that I tried to watch.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
And the only part I remember is when they're like puking up that like
fog
looking stuff. And that's when I was like, I'm out.
You're like, I'm done.
That's
Can't
it.
finish it.
That's
So
it.
those are like the only 5 scary movies you've ever seen. Well, I mean, no, you said you've seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Saw and stuff
I've
like
seen
that.
all of the serial killer movies. I have seen
Halloween,
Yes, I have seen all of not all of them, but I've seen things like that. The Shining, I watched most of. The person that I was watching it with, like, was really triggered by suicide, so we had to stop.
Yeah, that's
But that did freak me out. But it's, I don't know. There was something about that was still pretty corny and like abstract that I wasn't like super scared.
because it was filmed forever ago.
Yeah.
And so the acting, I mean, it's just definitely changed.
But never seen like Blair Witch Project or any of the
that's a
haunting
good
of
one.
or the possession of.
You should see the Blair Witch Project. It's not demonic. It's pretty good. It's scary. That's good.
Yeah.
You should watch
Okay.
it.
Not watching it. Like, you should watch it. I mean, it's scary, but you should watch it. Yeah. Okay. Same. Like, everyone's like, you need to see The Exorcism, like The Famous. And
The
I'm like,
Exorcist?
absolutely. Yeah, whatever.
Don't fucking watch that.
No.
That is the world's scariest movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I've watched it one time and I will never watch it again. It is the movie that terrified me.
Yeah.
Now,
No.
granted, I did watch it when I was like 12 years old.
Well,
but-
I watched Darkness Falls when I was like 8, and I'm still traumatized.
See, I watched it when I was young too. Didn't bother me. Anyway.
Well, I hadn't lost all my teeth when I watched it, and that was the thing in the for people who haven't seen it. Darkness Falls is about a killer tooth fairy,
Killer tooth fairy, yeah,
demonic
evil
tooth fairy.
evil tooth
So
fairy.
people are confused. That's what it's about, and she will come and visit you the night that you
She
lose
wants
your
your
last tooth. But
Yep.
she will only hurt you if you make if you look her
open
in the
your
eyes.
Yeah, and look at her.
So if you see her, she will kill you, but like you can hide under your sheets and be safe. You just kind of have to like make it through the
Yeah.
torture of the night. I hadn't lost all my teeth and I'm like, well, I'm fucked. I literally went to my
She's
parents
coming.
at 7 years old and I said,
She's
guys,
coming
I'm
for me.
fucked.
Oh,
So,
God.
yeah. Anyways, well, that's that. Stay tuned
For the ending.
Did we already talk about this?
No.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I was about to like reiterate as if we'd already had this.
No.
So now that we've gone through that rant,
Stay tuned for the
stay
ending.
tuned after this episode.
Yeah.
We have a bittersweet message to give you guys.
Yes.
It's really important.
Yes.
We're going to wait. We want to make you sit through this god awful story that Alexa's about to tell. So just wait until we're done and then you can leave.
Yeah. Right. And for our something spiked,
Yeah.
we aren't drinking anything spiked. We're actually drinking coffee.
Yeah.
So,
Because I'm about to.
yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Regarding a drinking word, though.
Mm-hmm. Who are you doing again?
So let me do the disclaimer
Okay.
and then our videos and podcasts are for entertainment purposes. All information discussed is found on the internet. Keep in mind, we will talk all things sinister that may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. So we are talking about a man named Fritz Haarman. So Fritz Haarman, aka the Butcher of Hanover, aka the Vampire of Hanover, aka the Wolf, was a German serial killer.
Love that.
So, any words come to mind?
Sorry. I was thinking about when she messaged me earlier and
Uh-huh.
said who she was doing. And I said, we love a German daddy.
Yeah, she did.
And then I was about to say daddy. Okay.
Daddy?
Okay.
Vampire?
Vampire.
Well, that won't work.
Oh,
so
fuck. Okay.
I was just giving you like a word. But what
Blood?
about no, it's gonna be a while.
Suck.
I mean, why don't we do
murder?
Yeah, why don't we do just like kill
Murder?
or killed or dead or whatever.
Kilt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Killed.
Kill. Let's do
Yeah.
kill.
Let's do
Kill, killing, killed, killer.
Kilt.
Kilt.
So, kill.
Kiltred.
If you are 21 and up, take a drink. If you aren't 21 and up, get your little baba.
And if you're 80 like we are,
take a sip of your coffee.
your coffee, your hot tea.
Yeah.
You're cozy with a blanket. Okay. Anyways.
All right. So some of my sources, criminalminds.fandom.com. I did use a little bit of Murderpedia because there was there was one, like, kind of like we discussed in the previous episode. Like, you get so many different stories on Murderpedia, and
Yeah.
there was one that I was like fascinated with like all the detail. And so again, it might not be accurate. And
Well, then fuck you. Take it down.
yeah, right. And then biography.com had they had a lot of good information too. So I used all three of those. And I did listen to a couple of YouTube episodes, but I didn't cite them. So,
Oh,
because I kind of like skipped
plagiarism.
through. I know.
We love
Yeah,
that.
Right.
We love an illegal moment.
Those were just background noise. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, Fritz Haarman, a.k.a. we already talked about his other names, but keep in mind the word vampire throughout the story.
Okay.
He was a German serial killer who murdered and sexually assaulted at least 24 young men and boys between 1918 and 1924.
What was the first date?
1918 to 1924.
Wow.
24 people in 6 years.
Wow, 6 years. Damn, that's a lot of people.
Daddy was busy.
Jeez.
I know.
Wow.
He was born in Hanover, Germany on October 25th, 1879 to Ollie and Johanna Haarman. The family was very, very poor. I mean, like poverty level, and they probably shouldn't have had 6 kids. He was the 6th child, and all 5 kids before were girls. So he was born to a family of all girls.
Hate that for him.
I know, poor guy. Well, it'll make sense why he killed young men and boys here in a little bit. But before we dive into his childhood, he was a Scorpio. So I got this from znews.india.com. Never even heard of this website before.
What is with India and the astrology, though?
I don't know.
Times of India, I miss you.
I know. They haven't really been coming up recently
No.
for us. But there's an article by D. Sharma, and it says, quoted, Scorpios are quite mysterious and will always keep you wondering what they are up to next. Their ruthlessness is often accompanied by the urge to take revenge. A Scorpio will also never let you get away with anything. They will take revenge and will go to the extreme for it. So if you angered one, try and make up before it's too late.
Yeah, revenge came up in the last episode too. Like
Yeah.
revenge seems to be a very popular Scorpio trait.
Yeah.
So,
And
go,
so
guys.
it's crazy because like with Fritz, we will see like revenge and ruthlessness. Like those are the 2 words surrounding him.
All right.
Which is crazy. And another thing too that we've read about Scorpios too is I feel like they are mostly like emotionally driven killers.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
100%. Yeah, tons of emotion.
Yep.
So a little bit about his childhood. We said that he was very poor. His family was very poor, very impoverished. And he often, because he was raised with all girls, he would play with his sister's dolls instead of boy toys because his family couldn't afford to buy boy toys. I mean, since they already had all the dolls.
Are boy toys more expensive than girls' toys? That's discrimination.
I know, right? But they already had the dolls, so why not play with them?
No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Me and my cousin did that. I would prefer
Yeah.
he would have the coolest like castles and like pirate ship toys. And so I'm like, fuck yeah, like Barbie is taking a pirate ship ride.
Yeah.
But
I'm putting my Barbie in the castle.
But then obviously like a dress when you're a little child is like more fun to twirl around in and play with than like pants.
Yeah.
So like he would wear like my dress up clothes.
Oh yeah, my brother did that too. Like he was basically my sister and I's little
Doesn't
doll.
Zach still do that? Doesn't he? Don't you still find him in your closet like trying on your dresses?
No, not today. That did happen in middle school once, but we're not going to talk about that story. He's going to kill me if he ever hears this.
God. That is awesome.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
took a selfie and everything.
Okay. Oh,
know.
well, that's a different topic. That's for our other podcast.
Oh
Are
man.
you questioning yourself?
Oh, poor Zach. Sorry, Zach.
Okay.
Love you.
Off the rails.
But yeah, again, number
Again.
2,
Yeah.
second story of the night. But yeah, so, because the family was so poor, they had already had 5 other girls, whatever toys there were, he had to play with or don't play with any. So he started getting bored, started getting very, very, very curious. And so this is when he would try to do things kind of sadistic, but to see what he could get away with because he was so bored. So he had started tying up his sisters and just leaving them until like one of the other sisters came and they would untie and he wouldn't like hurt them or abuse them, but he would just tie them up and like just leave them, just see what he could do.
Me and my sisters definitely did that to each other.
You tied each other up?
So one time, me and my youngest sister, she's 6 years younger than me, we tied Sammy, the middle sister, up to a flagpole with a bike chain. We were playing like cops and robbers or some dumb shit. Well, then Shelby, who would have probably been, I don't know, 6 years old at this time, takes the keys and throws them into the woods. Like, I was like, okay, dumb bitch, listen.
So how'd you get her out?
We had to like go and find the keys. It took hours.
Oh my God.
Like,
so
we were out
she
there
was
with like flashlights.
literally like tied up to this
Crying.
flagpole.
Crying.
Yeah, crying by herself.
It was like a metal bike chain.
Oh my God.
Or like when Shelby was like a toddler crawling, we tied a jump rope around her ankle to the bunk bed so she couldn't go anywhere. Like, okay, I'm starting to see a pattern here. This might be a problem. The common denominator is that I was never tied up.
Is you. Yeah, you are the common denominator.
But
you were the ringleader. You were the oldest.
Was I a ringleader or was I just the fat kid? Like, you couldn't control me. Like, my sisters are so cute and tiny and skinny and like I could overpower them just by like looking at them, basically. God, okay, I'm triggered.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, clearly. So, you know, he would tie up his sisters. He'd like to scare his family, which is something else that she does or did. But he would, but kind of like really creepy. So not like stand in the corner and hide and like pop out and scare.
Yeah.
Like he would tap on the windows like outside.
Oh, yeah, no.
And make like growling noises or monster noises. Like
stand over them with like a knife.
Yeah, right?
No.
And
that's one too much effort, but
yeah, it's just weird and like just very, very, very curious. Clearly, very curious. And so because he was able to get away with this and like the family didn't do anything, he started becoming a peeping Tom. So he's like 8 years old.
And he's a peeping Tom at 8 years old?
Yeah, like walking around the city of Hanover, like literally looking at people through their houses and through their windows and scaring them and doing all these things. So again, like just trying to see what he could get away with because he was so bored and that was like his only entertainment.
Gross. That's sad.
It is sad.
Like
he didn't want to play with the dolls. Okay.
He's like, Barbie who? Fuck off.
Yeah. Peeping Tom, I'm here.
I'm in.
So
that's weird.
Yeah, it is. You know, and his mom was sick for most of his childhood. And it said that he didn't really get along with his dad. Dad was an alcoholic and was just very like verbally abusive, not physically abusive, but verbally for sure. And so he didn't really have a good home life. Apparently his dad murdered a train driver. So dad had a temper, verbally abusive again.
What happened to the train?
Don't know, but he apparently, and I couldn't find if this was legit or not. I did see it on 2 different websites that this happened.
Yeah.
But he murdered a train driver and Fritz was with him during the time. And so because he hated his dad so much, he would often threaten his dad that he was going to turn him in.
Well, and honestly, like it's kind of like when it's kind of like the porn thing with kids. Like kids don't even need to see porn, but if they even see like sexually explicit, like anything, it triggers something in their brain that forever changes the chemical makeup. And I'm sure I'm not a psychologist by any means, but I have a feeling that murder is the same way. That if kids sees acts of violence, it doesn't matter how small. Like if they see 100%. An act of violence, but especially full-blown fucking murder,
it especially by your dad,
changes that.
Yeah, it would change them.
So
they might think that's
awful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So this is just, you know, a couple of things that have happened, you know, thus far in his childhood. And so now we kind of see how a serial killer was made.
Yeah.
A little more about his childhood. He was bad in school. So just didn't really care to go to school, didn't want to go to school. So his parents sent him to a military boarding school, but he was discharged because he consistently had seizures. So they thought that was a, you know, like they would be medically liable if something happened to him. So they discharged him and sent him back home. Yeah.
That seems like something you should maybe question and look into.
Right. And it's from what I read, it's like it just like abruptly started happening.
Like, is it like stress? Like maybe like some anxiety shit?
Maybe. Or maybe he was faking it. I don't know.
Or that. Yeah.
So when he got back home, he didn't want to go back to school. So dad said, well, you've got to work. So he started working at a cigar factory like in town. So now we are in 1898. He's 19 years old, and this is when the criminal activity starts happening. And he gets arrested for molesting young boys.
Wow.
Yeah. However, although like you would think getting arrested, he would be like sentenced to prison or he would go to jail, they sent him to a mental institution because they determined that he was mentally unstable to stand trial.
Oh, shit.
And so based on his actions, and he was also
maybe?
having seizures.
Yeah.
Yes.
Huh.
So they sent him to this mental institution, but 6 months later he escaped. And I mean, think about it. This is in 1898. We've talked about mental institutions.
Okay,
like,
that's true. That's true.
Of course he escaped.
I'm not gonna lie. I really have been paying attention, but the first time you said, I thought I was like, okay, wow, we're starting in the 1800s. I remember thinking that at the top of the podcast, and then I thought definitely we said 1998, and you're like, keep in mind it's 1990, and I'm thinking, yeah, how the fuck are you breaking out of anything? Okay, got it. Reminded. We're in the 1800s.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
late 1800s.
That wasn't like
no.
Yeah.
No,
Simple.
I mean he would have been like a little guinea pig
with the keys.
Yeah, 100%.
So
seriously, so he broke out of the mental institution. Ended up somehow going to Switzerland, but came back to Germany, back to Hanover, to where his family was. So fast forward to the next year, he gets married to a woman named Erna. They have their first child, so he's only 20 years old. A little bit older than your last story. Instead of 16, he's 20 having his first kid.
Yeah.
But Fritz freaked out, got stressed, didn't want to be a dad, so he decided that he was going to enlist into the military. He wanted to become a soldier, but more so a serial killer soldier.
Oh, so wait. That could go one of two ways. I want to kill all the bad guys, or no, I want to do this because this is a great opportunity to kill a bunch of people.
This is a great opportunity to kill a bunch of people and get away with it.
Oh, okay, great. Love that.
He idolized a man named William Burke. And we've also said kill like 3 times. So I know we're not drinking along, but you guys should be.
William Burke.
Yeah, idolized a man named William Burke.
Was he a serial killer?
William Burke was a serial killer. He was a Scottish serial killer who actually sold his victims' bodies, 17 bodies, to a doctor, Dr. Robert Knox. Now, Robert was an anatomy teacher, human anatomy teacher, and he needed bodies to dissect. So Fritz was obsessed with this guy because he's like, oh, well, he can get away with murder and he can sell these bodies to somebody that needs them. So I can get away with murder by going into the military and killing people.
I also feel like that story sounds familiar. The whole finding
Robert
cadavers.
Knox. Yeah.
But anyways, I feel like that was like on a Netflix thing.
Well,
crazy person to idolize, but sure.
Yeah, like that was his goal.
That was
nuts. His goal.
That's crazy.
Like, I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be a lawyer. People. I don't want to be a teacher. I want to be a serial killer in the military.
Well, and you know, when we were, I forget which one it was, but we did an episode recently where the nurse was, you know, basically inducing people only to revive them and getting the adrenaline rush from it. And like, there are people who do get rushes from traumatic events, and there are people who just genuinely enjoy cutting open people. And I mean, that's why we have people that go into like embalming, and it's why we have doctors and nurses, because there are people who can stomach that, but they do enjoy that, and they're not freaks. There's a line,
right?
Or there should be a line where it's like, I am not bothered by opening up a person. I'm not bothered by blood. I'm not bothered by this.
Right.
I
And
enjoy what I do.
but I don't get pleasure
I'm
from
not
it
like
in like a sicko way.
in a sick way, like,
Yeah.
but I will really like it if they just collapse dead.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the line, I feel like.
Oh, for sure. But this guy, that's what he wanted to do. That's what his goal was to be like another serial killer that got away with it. So fast forward to October 1901, just a little bit later. He was in the military still, but ended up collapsing, having a seizure, and was diagnosed with a mental deficiency. So the military discharged him. I said for a second time because he went to that military boarding school where they discharged him previously for health issues because of his seizures. Well, now the military is discharging him again because of a mental deficiency.
Got it.
So they sent him back to Hanover, Germany to live with his family, not to live with his wife or his child because he wanted nothing to do with them. So he went back to live with his family. And this is when Dad tried to get him institutionalized into a mental institution, but the doctors thought that he would be just fine. They're like, well, no, wait, if he's able to enlist into the military,
Right.
then why can't he live in society by himself?
Exactly.
But Dad deep down like knew something was wrong with his son, and he was fighting to get his son institutionalized.
Do you think he knew deep down, like it was like on a serial killer level, or do you think he was just like, there's something mentally not lining up?
I think a little bit of both, because he already got in trouble for molesting young boys. He clearly had mental problems. So I think it was a little bit of both. I think he was worried about the mental stability of his son, but he also knew that his son could be something dark.
Gotcha. Man, that's scary.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy. So now we kind of hear a little bit about his childhood, young adult life. So let's get into it. Right. So, had a hard time finding a job as a young adult. So instead of getting a regular job, he started robbing people, and robbing businesses. However, he was not a successful criminal because every single time that he would do this, he would get caught by the police and end up in jail.
Good.
So for the next, literally, this is 17 years, he was in jail like 80% of the time.
Wow.
So 20% of the time.
Which he's probably better off there. That's probably why.
He was.
Yeah.
Like, why did they let him go? Like, why would they keep letting him go? He keeps, robbing people. He keeps doing these things. Now, he wasn't violent at this time, but still.
But on the flip side, again, if you are homeless and you have no ambition and you are a criminal, you are better off in prison more than likely, because it's a roof over your head. It's hot meals. So they were probably kind of like, yo, this guy's just trying to get free room and board.
Yeah.
So,
and then, back in the 1900s, early 1900s, prisoners worked.
Yeah, that's
for
true.
the most part.
So not exactly what we have today.
Yeah, and they like worked in factories and stuff, and so it's definitely not what we have today. Even in like you watch the Dahmer series on Netflix, like he would leave from 8 to 5 and work, and then go back to prison and literally be in prison to sleep and eat and stuff like that.
Right.
So that shit happened literally until like the 90s, 2000. So prison was just a little bit different, but they release him because he ends up becoming an informant for the police. They were tracking like other serial killers and other big type criminals. And so they were like, hey, we will release you if you be our informant and tell us everything that you know and everything that you find out. So he's like, okay, duh, easy, I'll do it. So he gets released. Fast forward to, this is now 1918 whenever he's released, and he's 39 years old. He's still committing crimes, but he's a little bit smarter now where he's not getting caught. And this is when he starts sexually assaulting even more young men and boys. And I say young men and boys because his typical age range, I found a couple of different websites that said like 10 to 22. But from the victims that I had found, they averaged to be between like 16 and 21. And so you've got to think about that time in the early 1900s. I mean, we are in World War One.
Yeah.
Like boys enlisted at 12, 13, 14 years old.
Right.
And they were considered men. They weren't
Exactly.
considered boys. So that's why I say young men and boys. So that way we kind of understand the age range. And yes, they are children today.
Right.
But back then
back
they
then,
were not.
Seen differently.
Seen completely
sure.
different. So starts molesting even more young men and boys. But because we are in World War One at this point in time, and he's in Germany, the police force, where are they? They're in war.
Right.
They're not there policing the city. So he's getting away with anything that he is doing.
Oh my God.
Right. And he's an informant. So, and because he's a criminal, he can't go into war. And so he's just getting away with everything that he's doing
It's
to
just like
these
a
poor
free
people.
for all.
It seriously is a free for all. So fast forward to September 25th, 1918, he commits his first murder.
Okay.
He murders a 17-year-old boy named Friedel Roth. Now, Friedel was last seen with Fritz by some of his friends. And the friends told the police that he was missing. They're like, hey, my friend is missing. I saw him with this man named Fritz. This is what he looks like. But the police were like, there's no way. There's no way. He's an informant. He's working for us. Like, seriously, no way. However, they did decide to check up on his home. They get to his home and they found Fritz in bed with another young boy. Not the man who was missing, but a different young boy. And this young boy is half naked, in his bed. So the police had to arrest him for sexual assault against a minor. But he was released 9 months later for good behavior.
Yeah.
Literally good behavior.
Like, well, you're an informant.
Yeah, you're an informant.
Fucked this task up.
Yeah, and even though you are with young men,
Oh my God.
still, you're so they let him go. It's important to note too that they never searched Fritz's apartment for the missing boy Friedel.
So basically, they went in looking for a different boy.
Yes.
They saw another one and they were like, well, fuck that other kid.
Yeah.
We've got this one, so we're
Yeah.
going to deal with that and then forget that the other one even existed, even though
Pretty
they could have
much.
found like an entire ring of children. Great.
Pretty much. And that's
Great
something,
skills.
yeah, and that's something to like keep in mind with the story, because had they have searched his apartment, things would have gone so differently.
Yeah.
Literally so differently in this man's life. So we're only in 1918. Now fast forward to 1922. He meets a man named Hans, and Hans becomes his best friend, his lover. They end up getting an apartment together. And I found that it was pretty crazy where they lived in Hanover, Germany. The neighborhood that they lived in where the apartment was located was like the haunted area of the city. So
Okay.
it's kind of like crazy to think about because, at this point in time, yes, he's committed murder, but we don't think the murders were as extensive as they're about to be. So it's like, could, that have sparked it? Like, could that have made it worse by him living in that haunted area?
Did you see that? What just happened?
You just like leaped all over yourself.
I don't think I had the straw fully in my mouth. Anyways, sorry for people watching.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends. Do you believe in ghosts?
I mean, you know that we do.
Yeah, but also it's like, or are you just a shitty person?
Fucking psychopath. Yeah, I think he was a psychopath, but I just found that pretty fascinating.
Yeah, no, that is crazy.
Okay, we are in 1922. Meets this man named Hans. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so this is when he starts actually murdering young men again, and a lot at a time. So he is pretending to be a police officer. He would lure these men back to his home, and Hans, his boyfriend, his lover, was his accomplice as well. So he would, help him with whatever he needed. But unfortunately, he became his accomplice by accident. He showed up home a little too early when Fritz was murdering another 17-year-old boy.
You walk in
on your
and
lover,
that's what you see.
Murdering a young boy. 17-year-old man.
I hate to ask this question, but do we know how he was murdering him?
Yeah, you're going to hear in a minute.
Okay, got it.
And then
the only reason why I ask is obviously someone drugged on the couch is a little different than an axe murder.
I mean it's pretty brutal.
Okay, got it.
It's pretty brutal.
Okay.
So now we can kind of see why, and you'll hear why Hans was his accomplice. I did a really bad joke here. I said, so the boy that he was murdering was also named Fritz, and so he was just pissed off because he had the same name. So I said, that's bad joke, terrible. But I found that kind of crazy.
Cut it out. We're canceled.
I know. Just don't murder anyone with the same name as you.
Right.
Just don't do it.
It's bad luck.
Bad luck. So, I guess we're getting hydrated now.
Yeah, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like I need 7 more coffees, but
I know.
We're powering through.
We are.
Okay, back to the murder.
Over the next year, 12 young men were murdered and dismembered.
Wait, time out. Are you going to go over how that kid was murdered?
Yes, I'm going right now.
I was like,
you've got to hear the MO.
Now I'm invested.
You've got to hear all of it.
Okay.
So over the next year, 12 more young men were murdered and dismembered. And these are only the
ones you got caught for.
Yeah, the verified numbers. Okay. So basically what he would do is he would choose runaway kids, addicts, male prostitutes, those that were looking for odd jobs, for literally any money, any food. We're talking about
easy
right
targets.
After war. Yes, easy targets. Most of these men would hang out by the train station, so the Hanover Central Station. And so what he would do is he would lure these men back into his apartment. Sometimes he would pose as a police officer, acting like he was going to arrest them for prostitution. Or other times he would just say hey, you need a place to stay. You need money. You need food. You need water. Come back to my place.
Got some popsicles in the basement.
I have some candy, little boy.
Terrible time for a joke.
Yeah, really bad. But that's how he got these people. I mean, they were vulnerable. They didn't have anything. They're like, it's fucking freezing. Yeah, I'll come over and have some food. So getting to how he would kill them. He would kill his victims by love bites.
Oh, I'm sorry. What?
Can you guess what a love bite is?
You bite them in a main area that psh. The throat? Like the wrist?
Like the throat. He would bite through their throats.
Stop.
And drink their blood. Hence why he was called the Vampire of Hanover.
He would bite through their...
That's
your main... That's one of your main arteries.
Bite through their throats and drink their blood. And this would immediately cause them to go into I can't say it now. Asphyxiation.
Yeah, fuck you.
God, I know.
Okay, we talked about this. If you didn't listen to our last podcast, we talked about this last time.
We did.
There is that, and for me, me as someone who is not freaked out by blood, I'm not freaked out by body parts, I'm not freaked out by any of that, but there is a line that when you actually have to penetrate, puncture human skin, that your brain is either excited or fucking disgusted. And I can verify, because I gave my dog monthly injections, that I am somebody that gets fucking disgusted if I have to
Yeah.
penetrate skin.
And he's penetrating
With his
skin
mouth.
with his teeth.
With his freaking mouth.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is awful.
I know.
And keep in mind, like, we have teeth made not for meat or flesh.
Mm.
And the amount of force that had to take. Yeah. That's not even like your hands.
No.
That's your teeth.
Your teeth.
Oh my god.
So now you see why Hans was terrified when he walked in.
So that is
and
what
saw-
he walked in on.
Yes, and saw what was happening to that young boy. He was terrified, so he's like, all right, I will be your accomplice.
He's like,
I will
whatever
do
you want,
whatever."
Daddy. I
Yeah.
am not leaving.
Yeah, that's pretty much what he said. He said, Daddy Fritz, whatever you want. I am here till the end.
That is so sad.
Yeah.
And I would pass out. I
Yeah.
feel like, what would you actually do if
I
you
don't
walked in
know.
and saw that?
I don't know.
Honestly, I will say this. I feel like I am in a flight or fight. I feel like I'm a flight.
Yeah,
I feel like I would turn
definitely a
around and
flight.
run out.
You would.
And then I would tell the
Or,
police.
yeah, you're a flight or you're a freeze. I think you're a freeze. Like, that's a
I'm
third.
not a freeze.
You're not?
No, because I've actually been in a couple of positions.
Yeah,
And
where you run.
my first instinct is to run.
Yeah.
If I can't and I know I can't, I immediately turn into fight. I start grabbing things around me that's
Really?
like, what's a weapon?
Wow.
But I'm a flight.
Okay.
I'm a
Well,
run.
At least you know what you are. You're not a
But
freeze.
I also have never walked in on somebody
On somebody
biting out someone else's
giving
jugular.
a love bite.
A
love bite.
Also, that name.
That's
A
terrifying.
love bite.
Love bite.
No.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
No. A love bite.
Yeah. So he would murder them by biting their throats. We already talked about that. And then he would dismember their bodies and he would dump the remains. The remains, for the most part, were dumped in a local river, like literally minutes from his apartment.
Stupid.
Yeah, and he would keep a lot of the belongings, like their clothes or sometimes some valuables if
So-
they had anything.
Not that this is super important.
Yeah.
And it is disgusting. So
Yeah.
trigger for blood people. You said that he would drink their blood.
He would drink.
Is he
their
like
blood.
harvesting the blood?
We're going to talk about that.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, it kind of like if you're dumping a body, but it's like bleeding out and like dripping everywhere. That's a
Yeah.
little hard to dispose unless you're harvesting and then it's drained and then it's a little easier.
Yeah, we'll talk
Okay,
about
got
that.
it. Okay, I'll wait patiently.
Yep. So, okay, I'll wait for the blood.
I'll wait,
I'll
I
wait.
guess.
I got it. Okay, got it.
I already know how this movie ends, but go ahead.
Spoiler alert. I read the story. I listened to the YouTube video on the way up here. But so he would also, if they did have any valuables, sometimes he would keep them or other times he would sell them, for money. Because him and Hans weren't rich by any means. They were pretty poor. And it's crazy because we're in 1922 and remember his murders ended in 1924. So he is getting away with these murders
Short period of
for
time.
2 years, getting away with these murders. Literally an entire 2 fucking years.
And they're brutal murders.
Brutal murders.
It's not just like you shot someone and dumped them or something.
You
buried
like,
them in your backyard.
poisoned them like we talked about that would suck. All murder would suck. But
Right, but this is brutal.
Brutal.
Like you're making a mess.
Yeah. So fast forward 2 years later, May 1924, over 500 human bones started washing up in the Lean River. And this was the river that was right outside of his apartment.
500?
500 human bones.
Oh,
Not 500 humans, but 500 like pieces
No,
of
if it was
human
500 bones, it'd be like a city of humans.
Yeah.
Or not a city.
But
sorry,
still,
where I come from, that was a
that's
city.
a city. But seriously, a lot of fucking bones.
That's a lot.
A lot of bones.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how terrifying that would be?
No.
You're just like fishing on the shore.
Yeah.
All these bones are
All
there.
these
You're
bones are washing up. You're like, what the
I don't
fuck?
think these are seashells.
Yeah. No. What are these?
Oh
Mom.
my
Look at this
God.
leg I found.
Look at this femur. Like,
Yeah. What is this? Is this a frisbee?
yeah,
Like,
that is crazy.
Yeah.
A skull or something. And like, that some of it had to be that, like, not just like little like finger toe bones. Some of it had to be like
larger bones.
your pelvis or your spine,
Mm-hmm.
a skull,
Mm-hmm.
a femur, a thigh.
Mm.
What's a thigh bone? It's not called a thigh bone.
I don't know.
The femur is connected. Do we need to go back into our song?
Yeah,
again?
do our song again. I think we did that with organs.
Yeah. The tonsils are connected to the spleen. Like, anyways, okay.
Okay, where am I at? So the city started freaking out because they're finding all of these bones. And so they're like, holy shit, we have a serial killer.
We should look
on our
into
hands.
this, guys.
Yeah, it's time to look into this. 2 years later, 500 bones later,
Yeah.
we got to look into it. So they start saying there's a butcher of Hanover. Somewhere in the city, there's a butcher on the loose. So the police start looking for suspects, and they're going door to door, but they do not suspect Fritz because he is still an informant for them, still working for the police.
Which is so stupid because he's already burned you guys.
Yeah, many.
Why are we putting
times.
so much
He's a
faith
criminal.
in this? Yeah,
he's a criminal and he's a liar. So he murdered another 17-year-old boy not too long after. The whole city's on watch. The police are on watch. Not even caring that the police are literally looking for anybody possible that could be murdering these young boys.
except their informant who has again burned them and has a huge criminal past.
Huge.
Biggest criminal past we've ever seen. All the other criminal pasts, they suck.
That. So he murders this other 17-year-old boy, and the police, again, they're like not onto him. They were, not caring. Okay. So again, the police were not caring about any of the sexual assault at this time too.
Yeah.
So keep in mind, like, he's not murdering every boy or every young man that he's coming into contact with. Some of them, they are prostitutes and he is just sexually assaulting them, but letting them go.
Right.
Other victims he's murdering. And so, although they know his previous like sexual assault history and they know everything that he has done, they still do not get it. They're still not putting together the pieces until finally, June 22nd, 1924, they started watching his every move because other boys from the train station were going to the police saying, hey, my friends are they're missing. The last person that I saw them with was Fritz. So like, he has to be the guy. He has to be the serial killer. So they're watching every move with him. They see that he's with a different young boy, not the one that he had murdered previously. And so they follow him into his apartment one day where they discovered him raping this young boy. Now, he was alive. He wasn't dead or anything. And so they arrested him and they're like, okay, well, maybe this is our guy. So we'll go ahead and arrest him for sexual assault again, for molestation. But this is when, once he's arrested, he confesses to the rape of the young boy. He also confesses and says, yeah, I thought about killing him.
What?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad he did, but what?
Yeah. So the police are now like, wait, is this our guy?
Wow.
Like, he is confessing to raping and now wanting to kill this man. So is this our guy? So the police go back to Fritz's apartment and they find blood splatter
Everywhere.
on the walls, even though they were already there to arrest him, but they didn't look. They find blood splatter on the walls. They find packaged meat in a cooler.
Oh my God. We're going to get like a Jeffrey Dahmer out of this, aren't we?
A little bit.
Okay.
He was apparently running an illegal meat business out of his apartment.
Oh my. Ooh. He was selling it
Yeah.
to people.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And we'll hear a little bit about that too. So, yeah, you know what that means.
Jesus Christ.
They also found clothing and belongings to many of the young men as well. So they knew. They're like, he's our guy. This is the, our serial killer. He's the butcher of Hanover, whatever. And Fritz finally confessed. He confessed to murdering between 50 and 70 victims. He said he couldn't remember how many. He didn't remember
70.
their faces.
And we're talking about 6 years.
6-year period.
50 to
Primarily
70.
2 years, but is when he was really active. But 6
Which is
years.
even crazier.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. And, the police thought that he was full of shit because when he said, yeah, I've murdered a shit ton of people, I don't even know the number. If I were to guess, it would be between 50 and 70 people. They're like, there's no way. We don't have reports of that many men missing. Right. But you've got to think about it in these times. I mean, families would kick out kids if they didn't go to school or if they didn't go to work or if they didn't provide, for the household in this time. And so did they report these boys missing? No.
Honestly, I mean, I don't want to sound stupid when I say this, but we're also dealing in a time period where it's like we don't have the technology and the registration and
to track
the
people.
order, the law and order that like what we have now. We don't have like people like everyone didn't have an ID or a license or like
a birth certificate.
Like,
it's
this
so
is
true.
Wartime. Like I feel like maybe it was an exaggeration, but I don't think it's unreasonable to think
that he murdered
a lot
of fucking people.
Yeah.
So the police,
just because you don't have missing reports.
Yeah, just because you don't have reports or like literally any evidence that says 50 to 70 people. I mean, you found over 500 bones.
And here's my thing when it comes to killers, even in today's world, if somebody is willing to come to you, like let's say you can charge a guy for sure with 1 count of murder.
Yeah.
But he comes to you and says, no, I've murdered 10 people.
Yeah.
Fact. I'm pleading guilty. I've murdered 10. It's not just 1, it's 10.
Yeah.
Okay. If it's coming out of his mouth and he's admitting it, like what is the harm in being like, okay, fine, fuck it. 10. Make it 10.
Well, I mean, I think now today they have to prove it. You have to have evidence.
No, you do have to prove it. But I'm saying, like, if it's coming out of the mouth of the person who did it.
They probably did it.
Well, even if they're lying, like, what's the harm in just go ahead and charging them? If they're going to lie about murdering 10 people.
Oh, I know. Too bad we can't.
Yeah, I know.
Sucks.
I don't understand the reasoning behind that. But not educated in the law. If you are, leave a comment and tell us how stupid we are. So,
but yeah, so he's like saying he murdered between 50 and 70 people. And they're like, no, we only have the number of bones to equal between 24 and 27 victims.
Still a shit ton.
A shit ton of fucking people.
In a matter of
couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just say 2 years.
2 years.
So he cooperated with the police. He confessed. He even told the police where they could find even more bones of victims that he had dumped. And the police discovered that a lot of his victims were decapitated. So we know from decapitation, that means like you are separating that emotional connection, right? So it's like you don't want to look at them, like you don't want to see their faces.
It's a lot deeper.
Yeah, it's easier to mutilate and dismember a body without seeing their head or their face.
Yeah.
So that's one thing to note. Trigger warning, this is very, very graphic. And this is quoted by Fritz himself. About what he did to these people. He said, I'd make 2 cuts in the abdomen and put the intestines in a bucket, then soak up the blood and crush the bones until the shoulders broke. Now I could get the heart, lungs, and kidneys and chop them up and put them in my bucket. I'd take the flesh off the bones and put it in my wax cloth bag. It would take me 5 or 6 trips to take everything and throw it down the toilet or into the river. I always hated doing this, but I couldn't help it. My passion was so much stronger than the horror of cutting and chopping.
Oh my God.
My passion.
That's disgusting.
So you're telling me he only murdered 24 people? No, I think his number between 50 and 70 is accurate. I think he like saw red and he couldn't stop himself.
Yeah. Wow. That's awful.
It's sick. It's sick. So you're hearing what he did with the intestines, with the meat, we should say, right?
Ugh.
With the bones, with the blood. So it's just, it's insane. So he was convicted on July 8th. Or sorry, wrong person. Hans was arrested and convicted on July 8th for being an accomplice to murder. So Fritz was arrested a couple of weeks back, but Hans was arrested and convicted a couple of weeks forward. Fast forward to December 4th, 1924 is when the trial begins. And the trial is very interesting. They didn't have like a word for serial killer at this time. Like they didn't determine like 2 or more equals a serial killer. So they would refer to him as the vampire or the wolf. Hence why I got the name Vampire of Hanover or the Wolf of Hanover. Yeah. And, you know, they would call him this instead of calling him his name because he was a monster. He initially, it's crazy, he tried to blame most of the murders on Hans, even though he had previously confessed and was so forthcoming with information to the police. But then he quickly backed out of that, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But he was wanting Hans to be with him for the rest of his life. Basically, he was wanting them to be in prison for the rest of their lives together and to spend the last days together. So keep that in mind.
I'm sure Hans was like, yay.
Yeah, he's like, oh, here I was forced to be an accomplice, and now I have to be forced to be life in prison with him. No, thank you. You know, and I truly think because he was an informant, he was able to get away with this for so long. I mean, the police literally like did not suspect it whatsoever. But whenever they walked into his apartment and they realized what they were dealing with, the city freaked out. They're like, wait a second. Like, he has been your informant. Like, he has been
Can you
the
imagine?
one working for you. Yeah. So it's just
like all trust
wild.
Gone. All trust gone.
All
in that
of
city.
the trust. Yeah. All of it. So the trial only lasted about 2 weeks. And it had over 200 witnesses.
Oh my God.
200 witnesses. This is in
That's
1924.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So, are there like examples of witnesses?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Not only did they have over 200 witnesses, they had a shit ton of evidence. So they had over 500 bones. They had clothes. They had valuables from the victims. They had the buckets that he used to transport the bones.
Oh my God.
They had the bed sheets with blood on them. One of the witnesses said she got sick after eating meat that Fritz gave her and her family. She said she ate sausages that he said that he made from sheep intestines. Even though we know they weren't sheep intestines.
Disgusting.
Right.
What would you... Oh, never mind. Okay, go ahead. I'll ask the question later.
You know.
What would you do if you found out you had consumed human meat?
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't
obviously
know
you
what
can't
I'd
like
do.
take it back.
I mean,
but
he didn't die, thank God. Like, they clearly
also,
got sick,
after drinking
but I
all
don't
of this
know.
blood, did he not have like major health issues?
I don't know. And we'll kind of talk about this in a minute. Like,
That just seems like a lot.
it seems like a lot.
But
And I'm sure he was eating them too. I mean, it doesn't go into the details about it, but I'm sure.
yeah, I mean, but
Like, if he was feeding it to other people, like, come on.
I mean, I hate to be weird, but
Yeah.
obviously it's okay to eat meat. And I'm sure human meat isn't far off from animal meat. It's the blood drinking that I'm like, that amount of
All of
iron and no telling it. Again,
Ew.
we're dealing back in a time when health wasn't top priority. We didn't
Yeah.
have medical research like we do today. That could not be fucking healthy.
No,
that could
not
not
at
be
all.
good.
Especially all the diseases
Yes.
back then, you know, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's got like, ugh.
I know.
First off, I just can't.
I know.
I
can't even
had a
stomach
sip
it.
of a mezcal margarita the other day, and it tastes so hard, like iron.
What?
Is that what it's called? Mezcal?
Yeah, mezcal doesn't taste like iron. It's
It
like a smoky tequila.
The smokiness was so intense.
What
it
was
tasted
it
like
served
iron.
in? Was it in like a copper mug?
No.
What was it in? Like
glass.
a regular glass?
Like a margarita glass. Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah. But that smoky taste can sometimes taste really metallic-y to me. It can taste really
mezcal you had. That's weird.
really metally, really iron.
Ew.
And honestly,
Yeah.
like I've also had bone marrow drinks with like bone marrow in it.
Yeah.
And it's just that iron that I'm like, this is what like blood has to taste like, but like so
Ew.
much more intense. And that's what I thought of when I drank mezcal.
Ugh, gross.
I feel like I was drinking a murder margarita.
You were drinking a murder margarita.
Anyways.
A Fritz margarita. So another witness said that she would see many young boys enter the apartment, but they would never leave. Another witness said she saw Fritz throwing bones into the river from her apartment.
Wait, so you see someone throwing bones
Yeah.
into a river and you're just like, well,
Yeah.
top of the morning, neighbor. Like, you don't report it then?
I think people were reporting it at this time, but like, again, the police were like, no, you're full of shit. Like, he's an informant for us. He's working for us.
I
They
would
didn't
have been
believe
like, then
him.
get your ass down here and look at this fucking skull in my backyard.
Yeah. Or this fucking
Wow.
femur in the river.
Yeah.
Yeah. Two other witnesses said that they were over at the apartment, at Fritz and Hans' apartment, and they were cooking. Fritz and Hans were. The girls looked into the pot and saw what they thought was a human mouth boiling. Because it's said that he would boil the skin off of the bones.
Oh my God. So he had like a jaw.
Like a mouth. Yeah, a whole jaw boiling. So they ended up taking a piece of the flesh to the police, and the police turned them away and said, no, that's like pig skin. Like, there's no way that's human flesh.
Oh my God. But they didn't have like the teeth, the jaw.
No, they literally just took a piece of the skin.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Disgusting.
Yeah. There was another, like, there were so many witness testimonies that you can read about, which was crazy, like crazy, crazy, crazy. There was one story that said, if the boy had like a lot of fat in areas, that he would boil down the fat, and he would put the fat in like a glass jar, and he would use that fat to make like salad dressing out of, or like use it as like cooking oil.
Oh my God. This is like Jeffrey Dahmer on steroids.
Yeah.
This is like Robert Pickton mixed with Jeffrey Dahmer mixed with, I don't know,
Ed Gein.
Ed Gein. Yep.
Yeah.
All on crack.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
Wow. I can't believe I've never heard of this person.
I know. I hadn't either. So clearly he was found guilty of all of the murders that they suspected him of, except for 3. And the reason why they couldn't charge him with 27 murders instead of 24 was because they only had enough bones for 24 victims.
Got it.
Totaling, only 24 murders. So, he was sentenced to death by guillotine. Do you know what guillotine is?
Yes.
What?
That's where they chop your head off.
Okay, just wanting to know.
Whoosh.
Off with his head.
Which is kind of ironic considering he decapitated his victims.
Very ironic.
But good riddance.
Yeah, right?
That's got to be like the scariest moment.
Yeah, like laying there about to get
No,
your head
actually,
chopped
I
off.
take that back. I think hanging would be the worst.
Yeah, I
'Cause
mean,
you don't
the head chop is
instantly-
instant.
Well, you hope.
Yeah, you would hope the blade is sharp.
Yeah, like they forgot to sharpen the blade today.
And that just like
Oh
breaks
my
your
God.
neck.
Not
God.
even funny.
Shit, I
That's
know.
awful.
You know that there's one person in charge of sharpening that
damn
blade.
it, Greg, you didn't sharpen the
Sharpen
blade.
the fucking blade. Get your ass down there. You're next.
And we're using your blade.
Poor Greg. You know there's a Greg out
Greg's
there.
like,
that
I
happened.
He just like his wife left him the day before. He just like had a really rough
He had
day.
a bad day. He was like, damn it, I forgot to sharpen the
Fuck.
blade. Now it's my turn.
Well, if that's it, we got canceled
We
again.
definitely got canceled again. Oh God! I
Okay,
hope
so
you
yes, I
guys
know what a
laugh.
guillotine is.
Okay,
The
good.
moral of that story.
Moral of the story: she knows what a guillotine is. So, he said, quoted, "Often after I had killed, I pleaded to be put away in a military asylum, but not a madhouse. If Hans had really loved me, he would have been able to save me. Believe me, I'm not ill. It's only that I occasionally have funny turns. I want to be beheaded. It'll only take a moment. Then I'll be at peace."
Well, I mean, I don't know if hell is peaceful, but
Yeah, I don't think where you're going, buddy, is very peaceful.
I don't think you're gonna have a whole lot of peace.
No, not at all. Not at all. So Hans was arrested. He was initially sentenced to death, but Fritz ended up telling the police that he didn't have anything to do with any of the murders, and that he did help with the body, like the dismemberment, but he didn't kill him. I mean, I don't think he did any love bites. I don't think Hans did any of
but
that.
after all that time, you would think there was a moment where you could have got out.
Oh, 100%. Or where you could have turned him in.
Like maybe you had to play along for like the first murder or two, but then it's
Yeah.
like,
Okay, this is fucked up. Yeah.
Now you're just like a
Right.
sadistic lover,
Yeah.
an enabler.
Enabler.
So
Yeah.
send him to Greg.
Send him to
we
Greg.
decapitated Greg
Yeah.
earlier.
Send
Never
him
mind.
to Bob.
Bob sharpens the knives. Don't worry, he'll get the
He
job
sharpens
done.
the blades. So he ended up only serving 12 years in prison instead of being sentenced to death, like
Oh, okay.
initially. So ends up serving 12 years in prison and gets out of prison. It said that he lived a normal life and died of natural causes at the age of 75. So
Jesus.
yeah. So April 25th, 1925, Fritz was asked if he had any last words. So he said, "I am guilty, gentlemen, but hard though it may be, I want to die as a man. I repent, but I do not fear death."
Ah, wow.
Then he was beheaded. Off with his head.
Up with his head. Greg?
Greg, is your blade sharp this time? You want to be next?
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like he could have got a little more creative with his last words, but
Could've
you
got-
know,
yeah,
it's
and
fine.
I read something that said like, and I thought this was kind of crazy. Like back in the 1920s, those that were sentenced to death, like they would ask them like, "What do you want as your last meal, or do you have any last requests?" And he wanted a cigar and like a good cup of coffee, and so they gave that to him. And then this is what he says. And so I thought it was just kind of fascinating because people on death row right now, like before they're executed, they'll ask them like,
Yeah.
"What last meal do you want? Or do you have any final requests, or, you know, whatever."
What if
So,
they asked for cherries and then they just ate the
ate
seeds?
the seeds? I mean, it takes a lot of cherry seeds.
I want 5 pounds of cherries.
I want 500 cherries and I'm going to eat them all.
Give me 7 hours to do your worst.
You're just in there like
Oh,
about to
God.
throw up eating all these cherries. Like, when's it gonna kill me?
At this point, you're just going to die from overeating.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah. So the remains of the victims ended up being buried they were buried in a shared grave because they couldn't identify all of the victims.
No.
But for the ones that they did, the names and the ages of the victims were put on a large headstone in a local cemetery. And then Fritz's head was actually held by scientists. So whenever he was beheaded, they took his head. The scientists held it in formaldehyde for a while to be examined. And it was actually kept at a medical school in Germany until in Switzerland until 2014.
What the fuck?
In 2014. And then they finally cremated it in 2014.
And then people think that it's unrealistic that Walt Disney did this. And it's like, this dude is from the 1800s, bitch.
Yeah.
2014.
2014.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's actually really scary.
Very scary.
I bet that means there's definitely a picture of it.
Oh, there is. You can go to Reddit. I don't know if it's legit, but you can go to Reddit and you can see a picture of his full head
In formaldehyde.
Oh my! I'll show you when we get off of this.
Okay.
And I researched so much about the scientific experiments that they did, or the medical studies, or the psychiatry studies, but I could not find anything that was legit. All I could find was fake shit on Reddit or other blog websites. I'm like, no, I want to know the facts. I want to know what was studied. I want to know, what did they find? Was there anything different in his brain versus a normal person's brain? Literally nothing.
And they had to have kept it that long for something.
They kept it for multiple studies. They had to have.
Yeah.
From
Otherwise,
1920s
why?
to 2014.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Very.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't believe I've, never heard of this guy.
Yeah. So that is the story of Mr. Fritz Haarman.
Holy shit. Any movies or anything about him?
There are a lot of movies, German and European movies that were, written off of him and stuff. I also read that Criminal Minds, they have a couple of episodes where there was some suspected serial killer that they wrote the story off of him.
Well, and it does kind of play into
Jeffrey Dahmer and
Texas Chainsaw Massacre type shit. Well, not really him. More really any cannibalistic inspired movie.
I mean, true. And it makes you wonder if more modernized serial killers idolize these people.
Oh, I'm sure.
Or did you know the story of Fritz Haarman? And is that why you did some of these things? It makes you wonder. I mean, Jeffrey Dahmer idolized Satanism, and he did idolize other serial killers. So it's was this guy on his list?
Right.
It's just crazy to think about.
Wild.
I know.
Ugh,
Creepy story to end our Scorpio season.
Yes.
So,
well,
other news.
I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to do it. So, you guys waited this long, an hour and 12 minutes thus far.
Yep, you have.
So, we have some bittersweet news.
We do.
I'm
firing Cadence.
I'm done. I'm headed to see Greg after this.
The blade is sharp.
He did his fucking job. No, I want to preface this by saying this isn't goodbye. It's just ta-ta for now.
Yeah, it's just a break.
We're taking a short little holiday break.
Yeah.
From the podcast. We have a lot going on.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot. So the first being, I am producing a show.
She is.
In Branson. It's a dream come true, but man, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So it's taking some priority in my life for sure right now.
Yeah, and I'm producing not a show, a baby. So
yeah, we said it, bitch. We finally fucking said it. So she has been getting wasted while pregnant. it.
I know. I'm just so bad. You better call CPS.
Guys.
No, I've been drinking
She's been-
soda. Literally soda
She
water.
has been lying to you.
I've been
for
lying to
weeks
you for
and
months.
weeks and weeks.
Yeah, I've been drinking soda water. Good old Target, Good and Gather.
And there
soda
was
water.
a couple episodes where I was like, God damn it, fine, I'll drink water too, and we'll just say it's tequila.
Tequila
Not
soda.
tonight. That was a real beer tonight. That was like
Yeah,
4
she
real
drank a
beers
beer.
tonight.
And I drank a soda water. So, that's
But
the news.
we love you guys. So the plan, as of right now, we need to get through the holidays.
Especially for her, I mean, in the entertainment industry,
Yeah.
like it's so busy right
It's
now.
insane.
So
And-
we've got to take a little break. And
Yeah.
with me, with the whole baby situation, like I've got to figure out my life, guys. I don't know if I need to be
Right.
talking about murder right now. So
And everything is staying up. Obviously,
Yes.
the episodes are staying up.
Yes.
We've got these 2 episodes coming out, or the last 2 that we recorded tonight.
yeah, and we also have an interview too with
Yeah.
another possible episode that we'll release, and a possible other collab that we'll do too,
Yep.
that we'll release as well. So we're
Keeping
not
up
going
our social
anywhere.
media. We're going to continue to post our memes.
Yeah.
There's a few little projects that we have not been able to get to because of the
Yeah.
schedule. Like, we keep talking about updating our website with our merch.
Yeah.
I've said since like literally the first month, I was like, man, I want to make a blooper video of like all of our outtakes. And now that we've addressed the baby news, there's a lot of outtakes that you guys have missed where I'm like,
Yeah.
Mom, get your shit together. And
Yeah.
she's like, well, shit, you can't say that.
Yeah, we
not
can't tell
yet.
the fans.
But there's just a lot of things.
Yeah.
We'll be able to get caught up on all of that. We'll be able to breathe and focus
Mm-hmm.
on just some things outside of the podcast. But we, it's like it started taking off,
Yeah.
but then life started taking off. Like
Very
life outside the
fast.
podcast.
Very fast.
So
We're
this
taking
was
a little break.
an emotional but like good decision. And it's going to be great. So we will keep you guys informed every step of the way.
Yep.
Don't fucking go anywhere.
Yeah, don't
And
go anywhere.
You guys are the foot soldiers. And if our ratings start to drop, I swear to God, you let us know and we will come back with a banger of an episode.
Yeah, for real.
Just to get fucking Marty or Susan or whoever's doing
Karen.
that shit.
Fucking
Karen. What was her name? Caroline.
I think it was Caroline.
YouTube trolls. We're not bitter. Anyways, that being said, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, for all of your support.
Please follow us.
Literally,
Please don't
thank you so
unsubscribe.
much.
Please keep the numbers
We
up.
aren't done.
We aren't fucking done. We got to get baby bacon and we got to get the show a making.
There you go. Good job.
that.
All right, y'all. Thank you again for your support and for understanding
Yes.
us. We truly, truly appreciate you so much.
1000%.
So, this isn't a goodbye. It's a see you later. See you soon in a couple of months.
And as always,
Stay fucking sinister.
bye.